The teachers were more into their students during that era because of the fact, hey, they knew what you were going to face in the future going forward. So they wanted to make sure that you got the best education that you could ever get. And that was key for them. And I think that was the feeling of the community that, hey, we need to prepare our children for the future because we know that they're going to face a lot of challenges.
So the education was provided by caring teachers. They wanted you to learn. They wanted you to pay attention. They wanted you to prepare yourself for your future. And they were very strict about what they wanted you to learn and to be able to do. From the learning how to read and all of that they taught you. When I went to high school, I was prepared for reading. I was never behind. And very surprisingly, when I went to college, and I went to Virginia State, I was, after taking the placement test, I was in advanced reading. I said, wow. Like with kids from New York and Chicago and from other larger cities that had much better educational opportunities than we had at Northampton County High School. But we were prepared in the basics because we had caring teachers throughout.
It seemed like they went out of their way to make sure that you learned what they were trying to teach you, and it was like you were part of their family. It was more like a family atmosphere. So, if you had questions, you asked them, they would go out of their way to answer you and make it clear as possible where you would understand it. I would say Miss Brown in the first grade, she was my first grade teacher, and she was short stature, but you couldn't get away with anything.
I remember my first grade teacher, first and second grade, Miss Alice Moses Ames. I think she taught everybody in Cape Charles. I mean, even the old people, you were talking to the elderly. You were talking to them, and she had taught them. She was my one of my first teachers. She was strict, which was good, and she was really concerned. She wanted to make sure everybody could read. As I said, she was an excellent disciplinarian. When the principals had problems with students, they would send them to her, and she took care of it. So we had Mrs. Ames. After Mrs. Ames, I had Ms. Eva Grace Beatty. And I think I had her like in the third grade. The fourth grade, I had Mr. John Walton Nottingham, we were his very first students. We were in fifth grade when he came. And we introduced him to teaching. Okay, we were good kids, so it was no problem. But, and he's still living. Of all of our teachers, he's the only one that's still living, which is great. I talked to him from time to time. So we had him, and then in the 6th and 7th grade, I'm thinking, was Mr. Jesse Hare. And Mr. Hare was also the principal, so he taught as well as being the principal.
Mrs. Carr, she was wonderful. She was my favorite teacher for my life. I loved her, and even after I finished school and came back from overseas, I used to go visit her, as often as I could. She was one of my favorite teachers, and she taught you. She was a great teacher. When you were in her class, you learned. You didn't just, sit there and not get anything out of it. You learned when she was your teacher. And that was one of the most rewarding experiences for me. And the reason I said it is because I still think about her. Of all the teachers, she's one that I still remember, and I can say I've had many teachers in my lifetime, going through school, but she's the main one I remember because I really learned something from her.